Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Facebook Live launch of A Maid Again by David Dunlop. Shewer maha agus da far na fáilte roimh, Haig and Shalu Leor Bia, Maid Again le David Dunlop. I'm absolutely delighted to have been asked to launch the book, to say a few words about it, and to have been given the opportunity to speak to David about it. I think we were all probably hoping for a good night's crack in Leo's and to be able to shake David's hand and congratulate him in person, but this is still a great occasion for celebration. Now, A Maid Again is the third book in David's trilogy. The first novel, Oileán Marbh, was launched in 2014, 6 years ago, it's hard to believe, and it was based in West Donegal and focused on a young couple, Sean Bwan and Annie. And it follows basically their lives. The second novel, A Broken Fiddle, which came out 2 years later in 2014, it continues their story through their daughter, Sally-Ann Sweeney, who is hired out to a farm in Castledarg in West Tyrone. Basically, this novel, A Maid Again, starts, it sort of picks up where the second novel left off. At the end of A Broken Fiddle, Sally-Ann leaves the farm, returns to Donegal, devastated because of a tragedy which happened there. And at the start of this novel, A Maid Again, we see her employer, Matthew Henderson, who had fallen in love with her and who had very deeply hurt her, sitting reading a letter that she has sent him. And the letter tells him that she is going to emigrate to America. And this throws him into a tizzy. He makes his way to West Donegal to see if he can find her. And lots of questions rise. Will he be too late? Will she chase him back to where he came from? Or is he going to have a second chance? And these questions drive the storyline of A Maid Again forward with force. It's a very richly woven love story, and it's a deeply satisfying read. To me, this novel is a book of borders. It's largely set on the physical and political border between Tyrone and Donegal, but it addresses other less visible borders as well. It looks at those familiar markers of identity, religion, language, music and traditions, and at their role in defining and redefining the boundaries of those borders between our characters in the novel and their communities. Matthew Henderson, bravely or stupidly as some of his neighbours would argue, crosses all of these borders with varying degrees of success and disaster. He is a complex and believable character and is absolutely compelling. This novel, A Maid Again, takes its place alongside the other books in the trilogy as an accurate and insightful historical novel, which deals sensitively with difficult themes. It's a book of great beauty and bravery. I loved it and I will certainly read it again and perhaps again. I'm delighted that it is now selling off into the world to be enjoyed by many others. It gives me great pleasure to officially launch A Maid Again. Congratulations, David. Cógáirdeachas. I'll be asking David a few questions now, but you will also have the opportunity to ask David questions on the live feed, and then he'll try and answer them on the second feed. David, music is a recurring theme in these three books. Can you talk to me a wee bit about that?
Absolutely, I'd love to talk about music. And just before I do, thanks for joining us, folks, and hope you're enjoying your glass of wine. Send me the bill or whatever. The steaks. Mary forgot to bring the steaks. So the whole music thing for me is very important. I've been involved in music most of my life, and whenever I started to write, I had a character called Annie, and I wanted that character to be someone who couldn't speak, so she's mute. Very fascinating character in the novel Oileán Marbh, but I still wanted her to have a voice of some kind, and so I put a tin whistle in her hand, and she put it to her mouth, and she played beautiful tunes. And that became her voice, that became her way of showing emotion. That continued on into the second novel, The Broken Fiddle, in the sense that the music comes from the mother to the daughter, and the daughter turns out to be a fiddle player. The fiddle becomes a very significant kind of motif within The Broken Fiddle. And in a sense, the fact that it's broken at the end, it becomes kind of like a metaphor for broken relationships, and indeed for a broken country in a sense as well, as partition broke the country in half at that particular stage. And music makes its way into A Maid Again, as you can imagine, and I don't want to say too much about that because I don't want to spoil where the story's actually going. So you've got to read the thing rather than me tell you what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
I would say as well, we're going to have a lovely reading now from the novel. Mary here, who did the launch, is my next door neighbour in Mulladuff here in West Donegal, and I believe in involving as many neighbours as possible. So, for example, The Broken Fiddle, one piece of it was read by a neighbour across the lake, Breda Boyle, and you're going to hear now a reading from A Maid Again by Sally-Ann Mulholland. Sally-Ann's a neighbour in this direction in the west, and interestingly, when I was writing The Broken Fiddle, and initially it was going to be the Hiring Fair, I was looking around for a name, a local name, and I looked out the window and I thought, Sally-Ann Mulholland lives there, that'll do all right for a name. So not only does she finish up reading a piece of this to you now, she's actually the person whose name I stole, and indeed her whole backstory and even where she comes from is pretty much the same as my Sally-Ann in the novels themselves. So take it away, Sally-Ann Mulholland.
I've taken the fiddle from its case and nursed it, stroked its wood, tuned and twanged its strings, but after 4 or 5 days, I still haven't played a tune in it. I haven't even taken the bow in my hand, nor put the fiddle to my chin. There's a fear on me. I feel it's too big a risk. A risk of what? I don't know. Maybe of falling again into the shape of the person that I was before. The thing is that in our local folklore in Donegal, the fiddle itself is a sort of guardian of our music. The ancient tunes have their home in the body of the instrument itself. That's where they live, every bit as much as they live in the mind of the fiddler. So to have broken that fiddle all those years ago was to chase the music out of it, maybe forever. It has often struck me that what I did then was to put a sort of curse on the poor fiddle, indeed on the home itself. For if the fiddle could no longer be playing its tunes, then all the happiness of those ceilidhs that took place in their kitchen would be banished. The fiddle seems to stare at me from its open case, the F-shaped holes like 2 drooping eyes that hold an age-old sadness in them. I've never noticed that before. I take it out again and I hold it long ways on my knee like you would a baby. My hand goes to the bow still clasped in the lid of the case, but pulls away again as if it might be red hot. To lift the bow, to play a tune like Eleanor Plunkett, I can't imagine what that would do to me. A tune like that's not just a series of notes. It's a deep, deep connection with a particular time, a place and person. It's a feeling as deep as the sea. I can't take the risk of swimming in those waves. Not now. I've enough risk in my life, enough challenges in this new future of mine, without spoiling things with the music of the past.
Sally-Ann, that was beautiful. Well done. David, the novel is written in English, but Irish and Ulster Scots feature strongly in it. Why is that the case?
Well, good question, Mary. Thank you for that one. Actually, I suppose one of the things I'm interested in is just how people get divided over issues, and language is one of them. You mentioned a few, religion and so on. And in this case, because we're in an Irish-speaking area here, Gaelta in West Donegal, and because my main character, Sally-Ann Sweeney, has gone across to West Tyrone and crossed the border, the newly set up border in 1922, and she finds herself on a farm listening to Matthew Henderson, who's got no concept of Irish language, but he has this dialect and he has a lot of words that she's never heard before, and in a sense they sort of educate each other. She's throwing him bits of Irish and trying to explain to him that place names where he actually lives comes from the Irish, and he's trying to explain various words to her like scunnered and fernest and all those sort of Ulster Scots words. And tying that whole thing together then with the music, I mean, from my background, my traditional music background as well in County Antrim, you know, we would have wonderful, beautiful tunes across there, which some people might think of as within the Ulster Scots tradition. I'm not sure exactly about that, but for example, one such tune is a beautiful tune called The Blue Hills of Antrim, which I heard many years ago. And then I come across to live in West Donegal, and I discovered that the same tune is used for an amazingly beautiful song, an Irish language song, Milse Canduran. And we're now going to have a short break in our interview to hear my friends in calmness perform Milse Canduran to the tune which I was describing.
Hi everyone, hi David. Congratulations, I'm sure you're just delighted that this project has been brought to fruition. I'm sure Mary's really delighted as well. We'd like to sing this song for you and for everyone who's watching the launch here tonight. This is a song that's mentioned in the book by Oileán, one of the main characters. And thanks for giving us a shout, David, and asking us to kind of chip into the night, because you've been a great supporter to us back in the day, and you've been, I suppose, the guy that really made us get the finger out and get stuck into the studio and get our first album together. And we're here actually in Red Box Studios in Belfast working on the second album. So because the song's mentioned in the novel, which I'm really looking forward to reading, we decided to sing that one. So here we go.
Thank you very much. Clan McCrory, Carmela Magus. I love that song, and I'm looking forward to the new album. Just a spot of advertising. Clan McCrory's first album has been on sale for a number of years now, and if you haven't listened to that, you should. It's very beautiful. But their second one is under process of production at the minute. And as Donald said there, they were actually in the studio in Belfast and sent a lovely little greeting. So appreciate that. Mary, have you any more really difficult questions for me?
I think of a good one now. When I was reading the novel, the sense of place comes across very strongly and belonging to a particular place. Why did you set your novel in West Donegal and West Tyrone?
Yeah, good question. I fell in love with West Donegal, Carrickfinn specifically back in the late 70s when we used to come here. And in fact, one of the reasons why that first novel, the Marbh novel, got written was I found myself one day sitting just on the rocks at the bottom of the tide was out, and I sit there and throw stones and sort of talk to nature or whatever. And just that landscape and the beauty of the serenity of that island with its incredible history of pathos and sadness. And for some reason, into my head came the idea, I wonder, could you ever think about writing a story where there's a child buried up there, and the child's father is buried up there, and the child's father was a sailor or somebody from the sea that had been washed up on the beach, but they don't actually know, or nobody knows that the two. So that's where that story sort of came from, and just the beauty all around this place sort of seeps into you, and I find it very inspiring. It's a great place to live. I have to say, it was a great place to live during lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we're about to go back, we're sort of are back into it in Donegal, but it was a brilliant place for me to finish and Maid again, to be able to walk Oileán and Traban in the morning, just all around this whole area. So yeah, the beauty of West Donegal inspired that first novel. When I was writing the second novel, because it's largely about, as you said, the border thing and the partition and the divisions between people, I thought it has to be written about a place on the border. I don't really know Castledurg. I know there's a lot of folk from Castledurg watching tonight, and I want to say, if I have ever offended you or got anything wrong about the history of Castledurg, I apologise. I think in my whole life I'd only been there once when I was a kid, and yet I found myself writing a novel. So how did I find out about it? I went and spent a few days there, talked to Harry Trimble, the canon there, read his book and old newspapers and so on. I tried to absorb as much. But it is an imaginary townland, and it's an imaginary family. I did try to select names that were Castledurg type names. And in the case of the new novel, and again, I don't want to say too much about the setting of it, but a lot of it is set back there in Castledurg, or in the farmland around it, and some of it's set in other places, which you're going to have to buy and read before you find that out.
Absolutely.
Now, I love the whole idea of a book launch, and it's tearing the heart out of me at the minute that we're here and we have no music playing in the background. And my good buddies from Ballymoney, my three traditional players, Deirdre D. Tasker and Helen Montgomery and Lucy Kerr can't be here, and I know they would be loving to be here. We've had a lot of fun during lockdown doing kind of virtual Zoom conference music and so on. But on one occasion a few weeks ago, I was back in Ballymoney, and I got the three girls to sit outside Dee's house and play the tune I was referring to earlier, the Blue Hills Bantram. So we're going to hear that now.
Sige suvnyas, vanaki kunyas. There's peace on the island this evening in May. The skyline is burning to crimson, it's turning the sun to the ocean, so drowning the day. Silken sea smooth as the gown of a baby, waves like her gentle breath sigh on the sand. Darkening shadow, a villain of mine, one foot in the tide and the other on land. Give up your dark secrets. How many years in the path of the storm? The spray of the sea-swell, tears of the ocean, baptizing the graves of the infants still born. Who were these children with rocks for their tombstones? What superstition would hide them from view? Suffer the children, nameless, excluded, with only the seabirds to cry over you. What superstition would hide